The recording. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Danielle Russo-Slugh, and we are just after November, end of November here, just after the big Thanksgiving weekend. And as we approach the stressful holiday crazy season, I thought it would be so great to hear from some experts that we have access to. And today's topic we're going to talk about is menopause. And through my UK team, we've met some really amazing individuals. And today we bring you Lauren Chiren. Am I saying it properly? Chiren?
Chiren, yeah, that's right.
Chiren. Okay, just want to make positively sure. And Lauren, I'm going to give her a little bit of an introduction, but then I'm going to have her run and really tell you because it's so interesting. Beyond being, you guys, on the BBC TV and the radio, which I believe she'll even share a little clip with us later, a little 60-second clip. Lauren's had a really incredible background. And now, of course, this is her expertise. Prior to all of this, though, she's been about transformation through a very successful corporate career that led her really around the globe, right? You were telling me about India and traveling to all of these wonderful places, very successful, demanding career, hitting your bonuses. But then, of course, the roller coaster of life that happens. And simultaneously with a woman who is aging and wondering what is going on. And so Lauren kind of took a turn, which she'll tell you about, what led her to that. And right now is really focusing on being an incredible speaker, delivering passionate, insightful, motivational, compassionate, accessible information about this particular topic in general, and lots of different health and wellness training modalities, both for corporate and regular people like us, in those, all different types of arenas. So what we wanted to do today was do an informative chat about mistakes that women make during menopause. And of course, yesterday when we were preparing for this, I kept asking her, she's like, oh, that's a good question. Oh, and then Tracy was like, oh, that's a good question. So we're hoping that we'll get a couple of moments at the end to have a little bit of Q&A. But I basically would really love to just turn it over to you, Lauren, so that you can tell everyone, how the heck did you come to, specialize in this little niche, and why are so many women making mistakes, what we should look out for? I know we're going to cover 3 in particular. So go ahead, Lauren, it's all yours.
Okay. Thanks, Danielle. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for making the time this evening to join this webinar. I am used to talking on this subject in a live audience. I'm not quite so familiar with the webinar forum, so please feel free to point anything out. If I'm not hitting your buttons or you've got questions, and please, do what it is you do on Zoom, and Danielle will keep me straight as we go along. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, great. So I think probably help a little bit if I give you a bit of background. I'm just going to see if I can do a screen share here. Just quickly, I believe that I can get in here. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, over the years, I've gathered a number of qualifications and experience, all in the health-related field. I started off in a psychology degree, specialized in clinical psychology, and I had an ambition to go on to be a clinical psychologist, except that I graduated from university at 19, and to do your master's, you had to be 21. So I was very young to go to university. So I had to kill 2 years. I got very immersed in the workspace and got used to having an income and wasn't too ready to go back and study again. Over the years, though, my passion has driven me to gather various diplomas and certificates in nutrition, in the health arena, in personality profiling, and a number of different areas. So who am I? Well, I'm a big family person. On the top left there, you can see my mum and my dad and my brother. My sister's here, and my brother is standing up there at the back with his wife and his in-laws. That's myself and my cousin. A couple of years ago, I was in Salt Lake City, and I was fortunate enough to run a little 5K there to do some fundraising. And as you can see down here in the left-hand column, I like the mud too. So get me outdoors and get me in the fresh air, and I'm a happy buddy, even if it is somewhere 10, 12, 14,000 miles up in the sky. That's my brother and sister-in-law's wedding a few years ago, and more recently speaking at one of the big banks here in the UK to kick off their menopause awareness event. I was a sports therapist and personal trainer in the middle of my corporate career, and I don't know if anyone recognises this guy here, but he's Sting. And at the end of 15 or 16 hours worth of massaging all the people backstage at an event, he felt sorry for me and gave me a massage. More recently, in the bottom right, that was me just helping a friend out with a photo shoot for middle-aged women, and those of us that are not quite in the best shape, and what she promises to do with us. So watch the space to see when I come back in a few months, bigger, stronger, fitter, and more in the way I want to look. So Danielle, you mentioned that there's been some BBC publicity recently, and I just discovered that one of the 60-second outtakes appeared on YouTube. So if you search YouTube in my name, this is what you're going to find.
Started so long ago that I can't even remember when it started. Old, an old person. Unpredictable. Stealth. Roller coaster. It's up and down, and sometimes it's flat in the middle, but you can't tell what's coming next. Completely up and down. It's like I can love you 1 minute and then really hate you. Whew. Roller coaster. Completely and utterly hot.
Lauren, we can't see the video.
Can you not see the screen?
No, you're sharing still the PowerPoint slide, womenofacertainage.com. So it's not on the YouTube video.
It's not coming up, is it not?
No, it's not on the browser window. Is on the PowerPoint. It's not on the actual YouTube like a video.
Okay. So have you got the slide with my story on there?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, perhaps Danielle, if there's any way to share the clip another time, then it just gives a really nice flavour for how menopause affects different women at different stages of their life.
Okay, and that can be found again by going to YouTube, typing in Lauren Chiren and menopause. Put the word menopause.
Just go to YouTube and type in my name.
Perfect.
And it should come up. Should be one of the first ones that comes up.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Thank you for keeping me straight.
No problem.
Danielle suggested it might be an idea for me to share a little bit about my story in terms of why I now support women going through menopause. So shall I do that?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I was in a senior role in financial services. I was juggling being a single parent of a child with lifelong medical conditions. And I basically went from being a very revered senior member of staff, earning all my big bonuses and doing really well, building great teams and delivering to time, cost and quality, to, with no warning at all, suddenly starting to doubt my own ability to make decisions. I started getting brain fog. That led me to losing a bit of confidence in meetings and not speaking up. That clearly, when I'm working at senior level and dealing with global teams and multiple millions of pounds worth of budget, led to a bit of disruption with my relationships with my key colleagues at work. In turn, I ended up with low self-esteem. I just began to really question my ability to perform at work. That got me worried. The more I worried, the less I slept, and everything just began to snowball. I had no idea what was wrong with me, and ultimately I left work because I thought I had early onset dementia. So that's not normal, not when you're in your early 40s. I had no idea what was going on with me, but I did know I had to leave work so that I could go and sort my son out. I went to see my GP, I went to see my doctor, and he did some blood tests. And when the results came back, it showed that my follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, levels were through the roof. This basically is one way to show that you might have been through menopause. It's not a guaranteed cast iron because it only shows your hormone levels at one point in time. Anyway, given my age and a number of lifestyle factors that my GP and I discussed, he decided I'd been through menopause. Well, I have to tell you, it was the happiest day of my life. I didn't have early onset dementia. So this led me to kind of really go away. I was fortunately in a position where I could take some time out and decided to take a year off just to decide what I was going to do next. I researched all that I could about menopause. I investigated all the different medical training that you can go on as a lay person, and also hijacked a couple of medical courses as well. I really wanted to make sure nobody went through what I did. It was really important to me that no other woman walked away from a job, especially as a parent with responsibilities as for a child, and being the sole income provider for the house, and just stop anyone else from going through that. I knew that I wanted to educate employers, and I wanted to get my message out to as many people as possible. So I started looking for platforms that I can get that message out there. I trained as a coach, and I still couldn't quite get where I wanted to go. So I more recently trained with the American Institute as a health coach, and I'm now doing holistic MBA as well. I've set up doing speaking and talking and lots of media work to try and explain to people what menopause is, how to look out for the signs and symptoms, and to make sure that people learn how to get a voice when it comes to menopause and understand what the things to look out for and how to help both themselves and other people. So I now run coaching programs, and they can be anywhere from 14 days, 20 days through to 90 days long. And just to get a flavour of how this works, I thought I would, sorry, you know they say don't share with pets and animals and children? My door has just been opened, excuse me a sec. Whoops. Sorry guys. We're minus one cat now.
That's right. We all have those distractions.
Yeah, it doesn't happen when you're standing in someone else's business. So just really quickly, I want to read a bit. It is a long testimonial, but I want to read it because it leads me on to the 3 key mistakes that menopausal women make. So this is one of my very early clients who I'd worked with for 3 months on a weekly basis. And she wrote to me, "Dear Lauren, please accept my heartfelt thank you for my 90-day intensive Kick the Sugar habit program with you. Following an early menopause at the age of 39, my sugar cravings got out of control. Without a doubt, this impacted on so many other aspects of my life, including brain fog, anxiety, fatigue levels, joint pain, and digestive issues. At the time, I didn't realise that they were all linked and that the sugars were affecting me mentally as well as physically. Despite being very active physically and feeling like I was having a healthy, balanced diet, when you helped me strip it all down, the sugars were massively impacting on all the good I was doing and causing me to binge on unhealthy snacks. I went round and round in circles for many years, to the extent that my exercise became obsessive to try and combat my cravings. I didn't realise at the time there was no escaping from the blood sugar roller coaster. No matter how much I exercised or ate healthily, the sugars were always the winner in terms of sabotaging all my efforts to be healthy. Finally, after years of research on and off the wagon with the dreaded sugars, I had the opportunity to enroll on the 90-day intensive with you. Initially, the word intensive frightened me, but I was desperate to try anything. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but at the end, she basically said that over the 12-week period, I became excited about the control I was gaining over my addiction to sugars. I felt that by addressing my habits and using all the powerful skills and tools you taught me, I could put the demons to bed and enjoyed a new, enriched form of energy and clarity of thinking. Of course, there are times when it's difficult. These were usually when I was under stress or pressure. And it was just as easy to reach for the sweet stuff to help me out. I know now how much of a hindrance it is as opposed to helping me. Lauren, your professionalism, exceptional coaching skills and dedication to helping me change my long-term destructive habits has changed my life so much, and I will be eternally grateful to you." Well, the reason for reading that out is not to showcase my coaching skills, but more to highlight the fact that someone who deemed themselves very healthy, someone who thought that they were doing all the right things, and who was crazily, I mean, when I spoke to her, she was training for an Ironman, and she was sometimes training 3-4 hours a day, 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, only not training because she had no energy to do so. So that leads me naturally on to the 3 mistakes that menopausal women typically put themselves through.
Lauren, before we start the 3, Lauren, are you going to share any more of the PowerPoint slides?
Yeah, I was going to.
Oh, okay, perfect. No, because for the recording purposes, I made your little square bigger so we can see you speaking. So that's good. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, honey.
Okay. So before the three mistakes then, I think Danielle and I discussed very briefly that maybe some facts and figures might be helpful. So typically in the UK, women go through the menopause between 45 and 55. That wasn't my story. Mine was a very early menopause, and it was a short, sharp 18 months. Typically, symptoms are between 4 and 8 years, but I know many women that have gone on for a lot longer. There's evidence to show that roughly 20 to 25% of women will have symptoms that will adversely affect their ability to control their emotions and their temperament, and will impact seriously both their home and their work life. 20% of women will typically fly through the menopause without any symptoms, and most people will be in a sliding scale somewhere in between. The average age is 51 for people to reach menopause, and reaching menopause means that you have not had a period for a time of 12 months or longer. Some countries will say 2 years, but typically in the UK, they class it as 12 months. So before we go any further, something a little bit more lighthearted. This is something that I use quite frequently. I even have mugs made on it for my clients. So it's Grow to Forgetful and Cycle. If you resonate with any of them, or you know someone who's suddenly out of character behaving in any of those ways, there's a good chance that there might be some menopausal stuff going on there. So perimenopause is when you, I'll just come out to slide share now. Okay, how do I go? Is there a way, sorry, for me to come out of slide share? So,
stop slide sharing?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
On the very bottom of the screen, if you hover over it, it should say invite, manage participants, share the screen, or possibly stop sharing the screen. Stop share. Tracy's saying stop share.
There we go. Got it. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay.
So where did I get to? Sorry.
Well, we were sharing the crazy seven dwarfs, the 7 dwarf symptoms.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the itchy bitchy slide is a really good one because it's a really nice summary for what a lot of women that I know will refer to, or people whose mothers or colleagues or wives are going through menopause. There are 34 recognised symptoms, and there's a great website out there which is www.34-menopause-symptoms.com. I'm sure Danielle can send that out to you later, but that gives you a synopsis of each of the symptoms, and it will give you a click through to tell you a little bit more about them and potentially some things that you can do to help yourself. So now on to the 3 mistakes that we tend to make. So as you found in Sheila's testimonial, she felt she was eating healthily, and in actual fact, when I spoke to her, she was having a shake for breakfast full of fruit, and she was having a salad at lunch without any protein, and she was sitting down to some sort of crazy meal at night that was very carb and fat heavy. So although she felt she was eating very healthily, in actual fact, she wasn't getting a very balanced diet in there for someone who was training as hard as she was. So really, she had put herself on a very restrictive, low-calorie diet and didn't take into consideration the types of food she needed to fuel her body, both for her age and for the type of training she was doing for an Ironman. The second mistake she was making was working out like crazy. She was putting in the hours of an 18-year-old aspiring Olympic athlete plus, and not fueling her body, not getting the rest, and not getting the downtime. And again, my own story was that I'm actually not much of a runner. 5K is about my max. But during the time I was going through menopause, I decided to raise some money for the local children's hospital because they support my son so incredibly well. And I did a marathon without training. It just goes to show the power of the mind over the body. So again, it's just about going to excesses, working out like crazy, and doing things that you're not doing in balance or in keeping with a balanced lifestyle. And the third mistake that many clients I work with make is not having a systematic approach to reducing inflammation in their body. They're not fueling themselves properly. They're using chemicals on their body that are very damaging, and they're obviously, like any of us living in the Western world, are typically in a very polluted environment. So we're just being bombarded with toxins at all levels and not taking as many preventative steps as we possibly can. So I know, everyone on the call tonight is not perhaps going through menopause, but if you know anybody that does fall into any of those symptoms, and you can see that they're, switching up a gear with their exercise, that they're just going gung-ho out into the world and using all sorts of household products and chemicals on their face and their body, which many of us do without really realizing what we're doing. And they're not eating well, they're not eating a balanced diet, they're not getting the proteins in, they're not getting the nutrients into their body that they really need, then they could be, they're people that we should really be talking to and looking at how we can support them with a really great nutritionally balanced system that is going to get them into a much better place going forward.
Laura, can I jump in?
Sure.
You had mentioned to me that hydration was so important as well. And I know you just now were talking about, toxicity and nutrition and enough proteins and nutrients and vitamins. Talk to me about, you said the importance of hydration.
Sure. So the very first thing I do with any client I work with is inquire what liquids they're taking into their diets over and above, what salads and vegetables they're eating. So for me, if anyone is struggling with sleep, with constipation, or with any level of tiredness, fatigue, then the very first thing I try and encourage people to do is make sure they're getting an increased amount of water into their system. I try and do some education to explain about fruit juices and caffeine and tannin and alcohol, and just explain that for each one of those drinks that you take in, you need an equal amount roughly of water to be able to digest it and get that through your system before you can even start to look at your optimal hydration levels. So it's really important. There's a general guideline out there of 8 glasses of water a day, and I can do better calculations with an individual once I know more about their height, weight, lifestyle, and stuff like that. But the number one key thing for me to get your brain working better, your body systems working more effectively, your digestive system having half a chance to be effective and to work properly, is to get your hydration levels up. Does that help, Danielle?
Yeah, for sure. I know, because you had mentioned that it was just so critically important for this.
Sure. So when we were talking yesterday, I was talking a little bit about a system of approaching working with people going through menopause. So I talk about an ABC system. So one is about alleviating menopausal symptoms. I've got symptoms and systems going through my brain tonight. Alleviating menopausal symptoms by supporting the liver and the intestines, making sure we get rid of and banish the xenoestrogens, which means getting rid of or minimizing our exposure to the toxic chemicals that are having a negative impact on our body, and disrupting the hormonal systems within our body. And then C, correcting our lifestyle, so making sure that we are managing our exercise, looking at relaxation, nutrition, hydration, and supplementation. So that's a kind of very high level overview of what I would do with working with my clients.
I knew I heard the relaxation, and I knew that you were going to come at some point, because I just can imagine that reducing anxiety, reducing stress, meditation, anything to cope with, helping our bodies relax is of the utmost importance, right?
Sure. And that's anything from, especially people with digestive challenges. One of the top tips I ask them is to identify how long they spend on breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then double the length of time. And the way I ask them to do that is to chew their food. So the average person, I don't know if anyone knows how many chews, I don't know if you want to guess on the chat box, how many chews people think each mouthful of food the average person makes.
So Lauren, if I put, a piece of carrot in my mouth, how many chews until it goes down my throat?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, come on guys. We've got a bunch of people on here. Let's get some answers. What do we think? I'm going to type mine in here. I'm going to go with maybe 6 or 7.
Okay.
Let's see what everyone's saying. We've got
sure. I can't see. Oh, yeah.
On the chat thread, we've got 20. Sandra says 20. Tracy says she's not guessing enough. Molly says 6 to 10. Judy says 6. Average choose 5. Monica. It's supposed to be over 20. Okay, let's let Lauren tell us in a second.
So basically, yeah, I mean, guessing 5, 6, that's great. That's more than the average person actually choose. 3.5, 3.25 is the average number of choose. And eating starts with the eyes. The eyes tell the brain we're going to eat. The saliva starts breaking down the food before it goes into the system. So fundamentally, if you just take 2 or 3, 4, 5, even 6 bites out of your food, you might as well open a hatch of your stomach and shove the food straight in. So the ideal number of chews is however many chews it takes to make that food in your mouth the way a shake would be, liquid. So even, no matter what you're eating, you want to make sure you chew it until it's in a liquid format and the saliva has been able to do its jobs to allow the digestive enzymes to do their job as it enters your digestive system. So if you're having,
Lauren, I feel like that's a whole nother half an hour just lecturing on why that's so important. I know, because I watch even the kids. I mean, I know it's not about the kids, but you can imagine if we can't even do it, it's like, what are we, what are they seeing and what are we teaching? Because I'm seeing the kids like take a bite of sandwich, like inhaling it.
That's right. So if you are, a great way to get great nutrients in, obviously, is having a well-blended shake with all the right ingredients in there. But even if you're having a shake, you take 1 sip, you put it down. Once you've swallowed, you breathe in and out 3 times to allow the digestive system to do its job. Sounds tedious, but actually you will get so many more nutrients out of your food, no matter what it is you're eating, if you take your time to digest that properly. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm taking notes. So it's a shake. It's a sip of my shake. Put it down on, put it down, and then it's inhale, exhale at least 3 times or more.
Yeah. The French don't. The French aren't renowned for being fat, and they can take a couple of hours over their meals, every meal. And I know that when I'm in Paris for a client that I work with over there, we have about an hour and a half easily for lunch. And they take that time to order, enjoy their foods, and we carry on doing business, but we are in a very much more relaxed state. So yeah, I love that. I love that session that we do with the clients.
But I never in a million years would think that had any correlation or relationship to symptoms that you could potentially be avoiding, or you could be doing something proactively.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important that, 1, we get the right nutrients in our diet, and 2, that we, digest them in a way that is which means that our body can actually make use of the nutrients that we're putting in our food. Okay. So, phytonutrients are really, really important. We want to make sure that we are getting plant-based substances into our diet so that we are maximizing the estrogen receptors in our system. We want to make sure that we disrupt all the xenestrogens, which are depleting. So xenestrogens are things that are typically found in plastics, in the types of products we've been referring to, makeup, in shampoo, conditioner, things that we wash our clothes in, or we wash our dishes with. So basically just encouraging people to get back to most natural products as possibly can, to avoid disturbing our internal hormonal imbalances. You want to be looking at things. Sorry?
No, I was just asking on the chat thread for people to ask us questions so that I can start reading them for you, Lauren. So
okay.
As we approach about a half an hour. So Molly's asking, what estrogens?
What estrogens? So in terms of which foods are estrogen rich? Is that the question?
If you want to unmute, it's okay to unmute.
You were talking about something estrogens that you were trying to avoid, and I couldn't hear what the word was.
Xenestrogens.
Zen as in Z-E-N?
Zen.
Thank you.
Sure. So they basically mimic estrogen, and they are hormone disruptors. So you'll find them in household products, insecticides, pesticides, plastics, like I said, makeup and skincare products. And the idea is to try and identify, where you've got BHAs, things like that you just try and get out of, go through your kitchen cupboards, go through your bathroom cupboard, look and read the ingredients in the back of your products there. If you've got words on the back of your packs that you don't understand what they are, then the chances are, if you have to look them up, they're not natural and they're probably not doing you a great deal of good. So menopause or otherwise, it's just good lifestyle advice. Does that help, Mary? Cool.
Yes, for sure. Lauren, I'm not seeing any other specific questions, but for those of us who may have the question that I had yesterday, is there anything we can do proactively to prevent or ensure an easier time with menopause? Healthy lifestyle, and I know most of us on here are very much into that. It's a little bit of preaching to the choir, although I don't know every guest that might be on or watching the recording. So what do you have as advice for someone like myself who wants to just be kind of proactive or kind of reduce some of the things? What would be good coaching?
Sure. So typically I'm working with clients who have gotten to a point where they're struggling and they're not coping particularly well. And many of those clients tend to be running at 100 miles an hour and standing very still. So it does go back to the good general lifestyle advice. It's making sure that you're well hydrated. It's making sure that you learn how to switch off and relax, and that you actually build that into your schedule, whether that's lying on the floor and doing nothing, whether it's listening to some headspace meditation, whether it's doing some breathing exercise. A big part in menopause, and slightly diverging from your question, Danielle, but when you are struggling, if you do find yourself having a slight flutter of the heart, feeling slightly nervous about something, remember nervousness is just the other side of excitement. It's how you're choosing to react to those nerves. You can control your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system through breathing. Within 2 minutes, just by breathing in very slowly, holding your breath and breathing out again, and repeating that for 2 minutes, you can actually kick into the relaxation mode rather than the flight and fight mode. That's a really, really good top tip, just to teach you leading up to menopause or during menopause, how you can get on top of your if you're perceiving that fluttering as nervousness or anxiety rather than excitement, it just helps you get that under control. So the more you can keep yourself in relaxation state, the better your digestion system works, the more you're getting the right nutrients into your bloodstream, and it all becomes interconnected. So it's about being really self-aware, getting out in the sunshine, especially in the UK, making sure that you are getting some vitamin D from those rays, and making sure you've got the best possible nutritional system that you can get your hands on and sticking to it like glue.
Lauren, Marcy's asking if there's anything that you can recommend on how to deal with hot flashes without synthetic hormones.
Without synthetic hormones, yeah, sure. I work with a number of different companies, and invest constantly looking out to see what's available. So black cohosh is good for very, very good, but it has to be in the right formulation. It has to be produced to the right manufacturing standards, and preferably if you can find a brand which I don't want to name any brands tonight, but if you can find a brand that has been produced to pharmaceutical grade manufacturing processes, that's not meaning it's pharmaceutical grade, but you want it to be the very best quality, and you want to make sure that the company you get it from can guarantee that what's in every single tablet, whatever it is, exactly the same. So look out for really good quality black cohosh.
Very high quality. And it's pronounced...
Sorry, Danielle, it's really important though, if you have any cancer links in your family, it's not something you can't take. So there is a contraindication if you have specifically breast cancer history in the family, then you don't take black cohosh.
And it's Cohosh, Cohosh.
Yeah.
Okay, because Tracy wrote it. I just want to make sure we have the right thing. Some of the ladies are asking, what is your opinion on soy? And she's laughing.
Fermented soy. Soy is an estrogen-rich food, and as long as you're using fermented soy products, good quality fermented soy products, then I think you're good to go. Is huge debate, and I've talked to so many scientists about this one, and I have been convinced that if you have the right derivatives extracted correctly to the right manufacturing processes, then soy can be beneficial. But I am very aware that it's controversial.
Monica, I hope that was you got it. Okay. And yeah, I mean, so controversial because there's so many things that could go wrong. So Deb's bringing up there might be GMOs in the soy and so many other things that you mentioned earlier.
I just saw someone's message flash up there, so I can't see the scrolling of the chat. I'm just seeing things as they flash up, and I just saw dried up. I don't know who it was. I don't need to know, but I thought perhaps
I have been told the comment from Molly is, I have been told I have no estrogen in my body. My body is dried up.
Okay, so join the club. But I'm going to share a story rather than getting into anything specific or personal here. So a couple of summers ago, a very dear friend of mine, an old boyfriend of mine actually from Bristol, he went off to live in Australia, and I was engaged and was having a baby with my partner. We'd split up long before that, by the way. Just want to be clear about that. Anyway, he went off to Australia. He was leading a great life over there. He got married to a lovely lady and was having a great time. I was enjoying bringing up my son, albeit that my partner left while I was pregnant. And 2 summers ago, he came back over here because his mum had died and he came to spread her ashes. The first thing he did when he got off the plane was phone me and see if he could come and hang out. So he did, and we talked, and sadly he told me he was getting divorced. Wow, that's really tough for me to hear, because I was really happy for him to have a really great life over there in Australia, and I was looking forward to visiting, if I'm honest. And the other part of me was like really excited about the fact that he might be coming back to the UK, and I was the first person he phoned when he landed. So very, very divided in terms of my reaction. Anyway, he spread his mum's ashes. We hung out for a few weeks. He went back to Australia, and we carried on the conversation about him moving back to Bristol. We talked every day, as you can imagine. And the more I talked to him, the more I could tell that he still really loved his wife. I could tell that they were really great friends. And I just said to him, look, buddy, why are you thinking about leaving? You've got it all made over there. You've got beautiful weather. You're in a great part of the world. Anyway, it turns out that basically his wife had not let him touch her for 4 years. And she would, maybe let him put a hand on her shoulder, but that was it. There was not even a cuddle going on. She was not doing anything that was going to let him come near her. And he just felt that he couldn't live out the rest of his life. He's kind of 2 years old, so he's 51. And he just felt that much as he cared about her, he just couldn't carry on living like that. Anyway, we got talking, and I asked I've not met his wife, so I said, what age is she? Tell me a bit more about what's been going on for her for the last few years. It turned out she'd been going through menopause. In fact, she'd pretty much come through the other side of menopause, was menopausal, i.e. had no periods for a couple of years. And I asked him, really to tell me a bit more. And basically, yeah, he did love her and he did want to stay with her, but he just didn't feel that he could be faithful if he did. I started asking a bit more about, more personal stuff, which for someone that I know is quite tricky to do. But it turned out that she, was not letting anything happen. So I coached him on how to talk to her, how to bring up the subject of what was going on for her, what did it mean for her. And they were in the throes of divorce paperwork by this point. So long story short, I explained to him about vaginal atrophy and vaginal dryness, and I explained about the various localized estrogens that you can get and apply. I explained about some very, very small sex toys that you can get that you can start to explore with to start to get some movement going on again. And we talked about different lubricants, different moisturizers, and different things that you can do to help over the course of time, and in their case, supported with some counseling as well. And over 2 years now on, they're living happily ever after and leading a very full life again. So, menopause can be really destructive in ways that people just don't want to talk about. And, I'm very happy I'll happily have a free 45-minute chat with anyone that wants to just work through some stuff. You can contact me through Women of a Certain Stage Facebook page, or the same womenofacertainstage.com, and I'm happy to set that up. But don't let, if you know of anyone or you yourself are struggling, then please feel free to get in touch. I can't help with anything medical. I'm not here to diagnose or treat in that way, but I'm absolutely happy to have a conversation about my personal experience and things that clients have said they're happy for me to share.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you for making yourself available. One last quick question before we wrap up. I know I said we wouldn't go this long, but one more quick one. Someone's asking about male menopause. Can you give us the quick description of what to do, what to look for, how to help someone?
Drop off of testosterone, lack of sex drive, and then getting thoughts of doing other things elsewhere.
Okay. And how do we help those guys if they have those symptoms?
That's really interesting. The libido, that is a whole other conversation for men and women. Libido is a real challenge. Talk. Make sure that you're communicating really well with your partner. And, there's so many that it's quite a difficult one to answer quickly. But, it's again, the same as it is for the women to the men, it is for the men to the women. If your sex drive's changing, if you're, there's no Viagra for women. It doesn't work for women in the same way as it does for men. It's being tested in trials. But it's about talking and about understanding and sharing and finding ways to communicate. But if anyone wants to speak individually on their specific symptoms, I'm happy to have a chat.
Awesome. Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you. I know it's a loaded subject and it's a very dynamic subject that can go all different directions, but what I'm hearing, and I know that it's like preaching to the choir, is that healthy lifestyle is just of the utmost importance to kind of deal with this women's time of life, and it will only help us to kind of go navigate the whole time. So thank you. You guys can find Lauren on Facebook, on her Facebook page. Lauren, one more time, shout that out. It's
Women of a Certain Stage.
Women of a Certain Stage. That's such a fabulous tagline. And thank you so much for your expertise and your generosity in sharing this hour with us.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. Let me unmute everybody, and everyone can go ahead and say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Very helpful.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Please be in touch. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
I will share the recording with everybody on the page later, and I'll get you and Tracy the recording also, Lauren. Thank you again.
Thanks all.